You know what time it is. It's time to get funny. Funny like a clown. I'm your host, Dennis Wirth. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast, episode 118, July 20th, 2021. Hey, we're going, well, not too far back, but a little bit far back, exploring the history of comedy here. Today we're going to be discussing Mr. Richard Lewis, a veteran, a long-time staple on the comedy scene. As always, today's episode is brought to you by the G Vegas Buffalo Sauce. Great stuff, man. I love buffalo. I'm hooked on buffalo sauce. Available at www.gvegas.webs.com. And, I just tried them tonight for the first time. I don't know, but hard-boiled eggs in buffalo sauce. And they were good, okay? And they're only going to get better with G Vegas. All right, Richard Lewis, man. What can we tell you about this guy? Comedian, actor, known for the TV series Anything But Love from 89 to 92 that ran, HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm, 2000 present. How did he start out? Start out as a class clown, which, I mean, a lot of comedians, you go back, were you the class clown? Or most people say they weren't, but I mean, a lot of comedians, they were the class clown. Starts out in school, you make your friends laugh. Remember Freddie Prinze? He started out making his friends laugh in the bathrooms. That was where you hung out, get away from the teachers, and he'd just make his friends laugh in there. And that's how about Richard Lewis. He was the class clown, but it wasn't received well by teachers. I guess his parents said that he got in a lot of trouble for, doing too many jokes. And remember, I remember one time a teacher, I guess she having a bad day or something. They was looking at a map, and the map, I think, of Africa was. I guess it was pink on the map or purple. Yeah, it was purple. And she said, "What can you tell me what's different about Africa than the United States?" And I said, "It's purple," because it was a joke, because that was what the color of the continent was on. And she threw me out of the class and sent me back to the homeroom. And I think when I got to the homeroom, she had, how come they sent me back early? I don't know, man. Let's ask her. Then she was twice as furious because I didn't tell her what was going on. But because I made her look like the fool instead of her trying to make me look like the fool. Welcome to school, all right? Welcome to being the class clown in school. That's what happens. Who knows? During the 1970s, he was a copyright for an ad agency by day, and he dabbled in the stand-up comedy scene at night, which nobody starts at the top. You gotta work your day job, and then you gotta head on out to the local open mic or potluck or whatever they called it back then, and give it a shot. Hope you get good at it. Hope you get noticed. Hope it leads to something. You never know. You never know. Started to gain popularity in the 80s. So, I mean, 70s, 80s, you're talking around a 10-year span, starts catching his groove. He's starting to appear on places like David Letterman. Got his own HBO specials, which back then, I know it's Netflix now. Before that, it was Comedy Central. But back in the day, you had your own comedy HBO special. That was the top of the game right there. He was noticed for always wearing black, which remember that was a Johnny Cash thing too. It looks like he's going to a funeral, Johnny Cash. Well, Richard Lewis was that guy in comedy where he always wore black, looked like he was going to a funeral. Did his acting debut in Diary of a Young Comic. He was with Jamie Lee Curtis in Anything But Love, and Jamie Lee Curtis, what a veteran actor! I just saw her in the other night with the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie she did there, and True Lies. And geez, what an amazing job she did. She's just such a great actor. I remember back in Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Man, she's getting up there in age too. But I'll tell you, if you're up in age, man, she can still bring it. She's like one of those Shares, Jamie Lee Curtis. They're in a class of their own where they just don't age; they just get better. They say, women grow old and men grow distinguished. Well, there's a couple of women right there who can hold their own with the men because they stood the test of time. Let's see. He's working with Don Rickles and Daddy Dearest. So, I mean, these are some of the people at the top of the game back then. Jamie Lee Curtis during that time. Don Rickles, the godfather of comedy itself. Come on. You're working with all these big names. You're hitting your stride in the old comedy scene. What else did he have rules on? He had roles on Rude Awakening, Seventh Heaven, Tales from the Crypt, which You go back to Tales from the Crypt, you'd be amazed at how many like big stars were on that series, and I don't think it was like a cable television series too. That's the thing, which you always think the big stars are doing like the major NBCs and ABC, CBSs back then. It's like Tales from a Crypt. It was just this tiny show, but man, they got the big names on there, and of course, since then it's turned into a cult classic. But I mean, back then it was a thing. I remember kids used to say they used to hide under their covers and watch it because the little puppet there. They were scared of him. He looked so creepy and stuff. But classic television series. The George Lopez show. That was one hot show there for a while for sure. And let's see, Conan kind of messed up his gig there, but he's still around. Let's see, he had cameos and Everybody Hates Chris. Chris Rock's show right there. Two and a Half Men, #1 TV show on television. Still aggravates me how they ended that. Jason Crow, worst ending. They should have just bit the bullet, brought Charlie Sheen back and just ended it, gave the fans what they wanted. Instead, it was like this stupid ending to a classic television show. But still the #1 show, and hey, he was on it. It reminds me, you bring in a guy like Richard Lewis, and it's someone you want to work with, So I mean, it's like he's on Two and a Half Men. This is somebody they probably idolized in the comedy world, and hey, we'll bring him on our now. We're the next generation. We're gonna pay tribute to this guy. We grew up laughing. I remember Bob Newhart was on The Big Bang Theory, and how do you not bring in a comedy veteran like that? You got the #1 show. Hey, now I'm gonna bring in my heroes, and what a great thing. Let's see. I got a movie coming out myself. The world needs a new superhero, and I got one of my legends of comedy that I grew up watching in it. So can't tell you who. I'm not going to spoil it, but tune in. Be a surprise for you. Let's see. He's written articles for Playboy, which they used to do that. If you had a dirty joke, you could actually write into Playboy, and they got thousands and thousands of jokes. And if yours got chose, they'd send you something like $300 or something, and they'd publish it. But once they did that, then you were a published writer for Playboy. Did that for years. I remember I sent one in once, and shortly after that, they stopped doing it. I was like, well, damn, just when I'm trying to get into the game. But I did get some questions on the Boston Celtics broadcast. So they did that for a while. They were asking questions you want to ask Tommy Heinsohn in the pregame about the Celtics. And I think 2-3 times I actually got chosen on that one. So I've been published on, he's in Playboy, I'm on Boston Celtics pregame live. Hey, you're from Boston, you're a Celtics guy, right? You're from anywhere, you're a Playboy guy, right? There you go. No, Classy Magazine. Marilyn Monroe was in there. What else can you say? Let's see. He endorsed it, which I mean, I do every episode. I start out with my endorsement of G Vegas Buffalo sauce because that's my endorsement. But he endorsed Boku, which I guess was a fruit drink back then, Snapple, which of course is a drink we all know, and Search, the little breast mint. So he was a spokesperson for each one of those, and you definitely get big money for being a spokesperson because I know when you go to hire a comedian, okay, if you want them to endorse something, the price just went up, okay, because if they're going to give you their endorsement, that's more money. He did do some films which he had moderate success in. Which just to say he never had like this big blockbuster Eddie Murphy big movie or nothing like that. But he was in good enough movies where he was remembered. They were good movies. They just weren't the big blockbusters, and his roles weren't the big blockbuster roles in the movie. But they were enough of good movies where he'd be remembered. Oh yeah, I remember seeing this guy. And what is it? Wagon East, Once Upon a Crime, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, The Wrong Guys, Drunks, Game Day. If I'm not mistaken, Game Day was with Al Pacino. Maybe that was another one. Maybe I'm mistaken. I didn't see it, so I shouldn't shoot my mouth up like that. But hey, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. I remember that was an all-time classic right there. If you're looking for comedy, remember he played the king in one. Then he got into some dramatic roles, which you got to do after a while, because once you're known, you're beating the comedy thing. There's even Robin Williams. I remember he did Picture This, where he played like the creep in the movie rather than the lovable comedian we knew him for. Because after a while, you have to do something different to keep people interested. Okay, there's only so many ways you can you can angle something, then you got to do something different. Well, he tried some dramatic roles in Leaving Las Vegas, Hugo Pool in The Maze, and Leaving Las Vegas, man. I remember that Nicolas Cage, and that was one hell of a movie right there. It was one of those thinkers there. It was about alcoholism, and I had a friend who was an alcoholic. Have you ever dealt with that? Boy, you watch that movie and you can really relate to what was going on. And just a sad, sad thing. Get help, man. Get help. That's all I can say. Of course, I told my friend that a million times and he chose not to, but I guess you can only fight something for so long. Eventually, you're out of fight. So, some great movies, great names he's in there with, man. I mean, just to be in one of those movies, right? If you're a local comic, he's in all these movies, and we're talking like it's no big thing because he wasn't Eddie Murphy. Well, it was a big thing because he had a hell of a lot of hits, man. 2001, he was on the Howard Stern show, and who the heck wouldn't want to get on there someday? Because the king of all media, which I don't know if that's true anymore. I mean, certainly it was back in the day. I mean, sure, Howard, he's forever going to be a big thing. It's like Oprah Howard. I think, Joe Rogan, I think he's taking over with his podcast. I know Mark Maron with What the Fuck podcast, he was taking over for a while there. Who is Mark Maron? It was like the big rumble. And he started out, then Joe took it, and Joe took it to the next level, getting 100 friggin' million to move it to Spotify. Yeah, and I'm selling buffalo sauce. But no, I mean, hey, Howard Stern, he's still, these guys can't touch a candle the way he's done. Yeah, maybe down the road both of them can because they're early on in their career and Howard's at the end of his. But you have the longevity Howard had, and then you're pulling something off right there. So just to get invited on that show was something else. I guess he went on there to promote a book, The Other Great Depression, about alcoholism recovery. So I guess he's and some people are open to talking about it. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I fight it every day, and some people beat it, and some people don't. And it's a mean disease. If you lived it, boy, you see it every day, and it's just you don't even know how to handle it. It's just everybody thinks they can beat it, and they're going to help the person beat it, and then you realize just it's not a choice. It's just a big disease. It's like you don't choose to have cancer, you don't choose to have alcoholism. It consumes you. Let's see. Had a regular role on Curb Your Enthusiasm, which was Larry David's show. Funny enough, he met Larry David at age 13 in summer camp. So can you imagine a kid you met at 13-year-old in summer camp? Years later, he'd have his own show, and you'd be a great comedian, and you'd hook back up and do that together. So you never know where connections are going to lead you. And I did some big shows. I met a friend who's a very good friend of mine now, and I met him on eBay. We were both collecting Sam Kinison memorabilia. We used to bid against each other. We hated each other because we could have got the stuff a lot cheaper, if we weren't bidding against each other. But we both had love for Sam Kinison, and we started talking because of it. Became great friends out of it, and he's opened up a lot of doors for me in comedy, and so you never know who's gonna open the doors, who you're gonna remember, what your friends know, who they know, what they do. So who knows? Let's see. So that's why you treat everybody nice, because you never know down the road when they're gonna help you out. Voted number 45 on Comedy Central's greatest comedians of all time. And hey, you're not only in the top 100, you're in the top 50 if you're number 45. I'm doing this later than I normally do, in case you didn't notice from the yawn right there, because I got kind of lazy on my day off, so now I'm doing this on a work day because I got to keep up. I don't want to lose a week on the podcast here, because I appreciate you guys all tuning in, so I want to give you something anyway. And let's see. It says here that he takes credit for the phrase, the something from hell. So yeah, I went on a date from hell. I had a day from hell. I had a roommate from hell. Well, I guess he takes credit for that phrase. He says he was the one who started it, which I guess it's been debunked, because I guess it goes back to like old German days where they used it as a phrase or whatever. But he takes credit. He says he's the one who started the whole damn thing, and Richard Lewis wants to take credit for it. He can take credit for it, but I remember the devil horns. Like, yeah, the rocker thing where Ronnie Dio, he wanted to say he created the devil horns. And if you go back to an old Kiss album, Gene Simmons on one, and his hand was some on that position. Look at the album cover. I created the devil horns, and got into this big debate. So you could debate it all day long. Depends on who you're a fan of, who you want to believe. Do you want to believe Richard Lewis invented the phrase "the blank from hell"? Well, that's up to you. Possible, I mean, he could have made it into a mainstay, whether he created it or not, I mean, certainly made it a household name. I don't know. I guess the best memory I got of the guy, and I know Dane Cook did this too, because when you're at that level in comedy, you can get sued. You can't go bad mouthing, on TV people, or you get sued for it. And I guess he was doing a comedy routine. He was talking about a car. It was the car from hell, okay, which goes back to his statement. And he's like, and I can't say the name of the car, or I'll get sued, but I'll tell you this much: it rhymes with Maguire. And I just cracked up, That avoids him getting sued, but we all know what car he was talking about once he said that. And remember, Dane Cook had one guy emailed him, and he was making fun of his father's death, and Dane Cook went on his comedy special, and he said, I thought he emailed me, and I thought he had one of the coolest email addresses of all time. And he said his email address, but he wasn't saying it as in, you email him and get back for me. He was saying it, I admire how cool it was. But at the same time, he got out there, and I can imagine after Dane Cook's special, how many messages that guy got from Dane Cook's fans telling him to shove it. He probably had to get a new email address because he had so many emails after that. So Dane Cook's like, screw you, I win, buddy. So Took together. Don't mess with the popular people right there. But Richard Lewis, he was on the Conan O'Brien show, which man, I'll tell you, for getting screwed at the Tonight Show. I mean, Conan, he was a big hit with the kids, man. I'll tell you, the younger generation loved Conan the way our parents loved Johnny Carson. I mean, he could connect that good with the younger generation. And let's see, he was on The Simpsons also. Richard Lewis, The Simpsons. How many? I think almost every comedian I've done a podcast, I think, goes back to The Simpsons. So just talk about getting everyone, man. The Simpsons, they're right there. Longest running cartoon of all time. Beating out Fred Flintstone. See, he's on Dr. Katz, the Daily Show he was on. So doing all kinds of stuff. Richard Lewis. Heck of a comedian, man. He's getting older there, and but I guess all right. I'm not in my studio, and I'm still sneezing. So 3 in a row. Is that good luck? Maybe it's bad luck. Maybe it's good luck. What the hell was I talking about? Richard Lewis before I started sneezing uncontrollably. Yeah, I guess they said the thing about Joan Rivers. What can you say about her? She had her peaks. She had her, valleys. She stayed relevant for the longest time, and at the end of her career, she went down as probably one of the greatest female comedians of all time. But that was a big thing they said about her. She was a survivor. Well, Richard Lewis, he did some big stuff. Probably wasn't the main. I mean, at a time, he was one of the mainstream comics, but he was never like the top comic in the game or nothing like that. But he survived, man. He was a survivor in comedy because he was always in something. Had his heights, had his valleys, just like Joan Rivers. And I guess you could say that. Survive, man. At whatever you do in life, just survive. And if it's what you love to do, you never work in a day in your life. Hey, we can all hope to have the comedy success Mr. Richard Lewis had, and one of the veteran comics. Congratulations to him, and hey, go tune him in, man. He's still on HBO all these years later, man. And like I said, guys started in the 70s, and here we are in the 2021, and he's still doing it this many years later. That's respect. Knock on wood. Good luck, long life to him, man. This is Funny Like a Clown podcast. What do you love to do? I love comedy. I love, joking around. It's a good feeling. I love to make people laugh. So go to work tomorrow. Tell somebody a joke. I'll give you a joke. Here's a joke. You can claim it's your own. You don't even have to give me credit. Go to work tomorrow and you tell them this one. How do you call a dog with 3 legs? It don't matter because he ain't coming anyway. All right, tell that one tomorrow at work, and hey, make somebody laugh. That's what it's all about. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Good night, folks.